Revealed. The spine-chilling mystery that haunted my years as a sheriff in cursed Ohio. The fog rolled in thick like a suffocating blanket, swallowing the small town of Millbury whole. It pulled at the edges of shadows, creating monsters that twisted in the periphery of your vision. As Sheriff Tom Miller stepped outside, the oppressive weight of the eerie mist wrapped around him. How many times had he told his daughter there was nothing to fear in the dark? But here he was, heartbeat thundering, wrapped in a broken promise. Whispers of the Hollow Man skittered around town like leaves in the wind, but it was late-night screams that kept him awake. Last Friday, a neighbor screamed, piercing through the veil of quiet that usually draped the town like a warm hug. By the time Tom arrived, all that remained were her open door and solitude, heavy and mocking. An officer's instinct told him to put together puzzles that didn't seem to fit, but with each missing person and frantic call, doubt seeped into his thoughts like blood on gauze. The festering fear took root, as real as the dirt under his feet. How long could he brush it aside? How long could anyone? And oh, the unsettling presence. Tom could feel it. The hollow gaze of his fellow townsfolk, darting looks when he passed a secret, heavy with dread. He accused himself, claiming he was imagining things. But when he caught sight of a pale figure slipping into the fog, his stomach dropped. Was it real, or just a figment of his exhaustion? He shook it off. But echoes of the past, whispers of curses, gripped him with icy fingers. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The moment he answered that urgent call, the shaky breath on the line, laced with terror, adrenaline shot through him like a bolt of lightning. He tore down the road, barely remembering to breathe, thoughts racing faster than his cruiser. The dark streets twisted beneath him like a gnarled tree, every corner a new horror waiting to pounce. He skidded to a halt in front of a deserted house shrouded in the fog, the foreboding door slightly ajar, like a mouth waiting to swallow him whole. He stepped forward. The air was thick. He could taste the fear, metallic and bitter on his tongue. Tom peered inside. Empty. Silence. But something was wrong. There was movement, something outside. He turned quickly, eyes scanning the oppressive darkness, heart hammering wildly. Shadows twisted like fingers reaching for him, ready to drag him back into the nightmares he had fought to dismiss. And that when he felt it, a cold breath against his neck, a whisper of betrayal weaving through the mist. Panic clawed down his spine. Who could he trust? As the realization of the true curse crept toward him, the dread was palpable. A flicker of light shone through the fog, illuminating haunting faces twisted in terror. The horrors didn't just live in the woods, they thrived in the heart of his community. Tom's breath froze in his throat as he turned back toward the house, dread spiraling in his gut. Someone was watching him. Sheriff, it called, echoing in the gloom. We see you. He stood frozen, barely breathing, the night holding its breath with him. What lay ahead was anything but certain, and an unseen force nudged him closer to the treacherous edge of the truth. He was about to cross into a darkness deeper than anything he had ever imagined. Was he prepared? Would he dare to uncover the chilling secrets haunting Millbury? The fog thickened around Tom like an angry tidal wave. Every instinct told him to turn back, but the whispering call gripped him tighter than any handcuff. We see you echoed in his ears, seeping into his bones. His breath halted, silencing his thoughts. A shadow flickered at the edge of the light, a figure shifting among the trees. He squinted, hoping for a face he could recognize, someone to ground him in reality. But as the moment stretched, uncertainty spiraled into dread. What if it was the Hollow Man? Was he truly alone in this cursed land? Show yourself, Tom called, his voice steadier than he felt. Silence answered. Only the rustle of leaves and the soft lament of the fog remained. Mocking his courage, he stepped onto the creaking porch, each board protesting underfoot. The door swung slightly, inviting him to enter, but what was once a mere threshold now felt like a line between safety and terror. The darkness inside swallowed the dim light from the porch, an abyss richer than the fog itself. He fought every instinct telling him to back away. A sheriff's duty was to seek truth, however terrible it may be. Tom crossed the threshold, the air inside stale, cold as ice. The shadows loomed larger, stretching like arms reaching for him. Forcing himself to move deeper, he scanned the living room, clawing through the isolation. A battered chair faced an empty fireplace. The remnants of a frantic struggle left scattered across the floor, a shattered picture frame, a tipped-over lamp. Suddenly, a flurry of noise erupted outside. Panic ignited in his chest. He rushed back to the door, and through the shroud of fog, he saw them. Faces panicked, faces frozen in terror as they pointed back toward the house. Mouths moving but no sound reached him through the suffocating mist. Then he spotted something, a flash of light erupting from deep within the trees behind the house. Was it a fire? He readied himself, instincts kicking in. But what would he find? The hollow man trailed terror. He could end up just like the others. "Hold on!" he shouted, bolting after the light. Each step sank deeper into fear-laden shadows, the fog swirling and shifting like a living thing, looming behind him. The faint glow flickered ahead, drawing him in like a moth to a flame. As he plunged deeper into the dark, a faint voice reached him, a whisper woven with despair. "Help us," Tom faltered, torn between rushing toward the light or retreating to safety, confusion gnawing at him. The words echoed in his ear, chilling him to the core. Who were they? Were they victims? Were they alive? Or worse, were they trapped souls, lingering curses entwined by the hollow man's grasp? He risked it all, knowing he might face horrors worse than the darkness itself. The light flickered once more, and a figure stepped into view, face obscured, but undeniably familiar. Tom's heart raced, realization dawning like a crashing wave. He knew this person, but how? "Dad," the figure whispered, voice cracking in despair. Tom's stomach dropped. How could this be possible? The things he had buried deep within himself began to resurface. Could it be true? Was there no escape from Millbury's curse? He stepped closer, heart hammering, horror dawning. "What happened to you?" The figure dissolved into shadows before his eyes, leaving Tom alone again in the encroaching dark. His pulse quickened. It was time to confront the collector of souls, the hollow man. He needed answers, no matter the cost. A chilling breeze swept through the trees, and the fog twisted maliciously, swirling around him like fingers tightening. He felt it, the dark force closing in, and the scream of silence as he turned back toward the house. What had he unleashed? What awaited him now? In the suffocating embrace of the fog, uncertainty lingered. Only one thing was clear. The true nightmare was just beginning. The darkness clung to Tom like a second skin. The whispers were louder now, curling around him, each syllable pulling him deeper into their cold embrace. He shook his head, trying to dispel the memory of his father's shadowy form. Felt wrong, unreal. Was he being toyed with? The hollow man loved to taunt, to twist hearts and minds. He pressed on, the flickering light still guiding him forward. Every step felt like an intrusion into a world he didn't belong to, a realm where shadows danced and crept, where despair was tangible. The forest closed around him like a trap. Trees towered to the heavens, their gnarled branches twisted into skeletal hands. He could taste the dampness in the air, acrid and stale, a mix of decay and desperation. Suddenly, the whispers stopped. An oppressive silence blanketed the area, heavy and thick. Tom paused, straining his ears. Had the figure said something more before disappearing? He felt sweat bead at his temples, each droplet hanging like a promise of what was to come if he faltered. "Hello?" His voice barely broke the silence. No answer, just the rustling of branches creeping like fingers in the dark. He resumed his hurried pace. A few yards further, the light pulsed through the mist again. Tom's heart raced. It felt alive, almost as if it had an independent will, beckoning him to the center of the woods. A part of him wanted to flee, to abandon the chase, but the voice lingered. Help us. Pushing forward, he rounded a tree, and there it was, a clearing. The light blazed like an angry sun bursting through an eclipse, illuminating a circle of silver dust that sparkled precariously against the inky blackness. In the center, a figure stood, hunched over in despair. Please, the voice shattered through the stillness. We're trapped, we can't escape. Tom's pulse thundered at the realization that this was not just another cruel trick. He sprinted closer, the light revealing more figures, trapped in desperation. Faces twisted with fear, eyes pleading. Some were familiar, some not. A woman with wild, haunted eyes reached out to him. Tom. Her voice pierced through the chaos, laced with anguish. Help us. We're the ones he has taken. The recognition struck him like a blow. Some of them were victims, faces from stories passed in hushed tones around town. Wisps of the cursed past returned, replaying scenes of sorrow he had never wished to unearth. This is real, he shouted, shaking with a mix of panic and resolve. You're real. What can I do? But before he could get closer, a chilling gust of air surged through the clearing, snuffing out the light in an instant. Panic surged in him again as he staggered backward, dizzy with confusion. The shadows converged, and the oppressive whisper returned, drowning out all reason. We see you. The full force of despair crashed over him. Before he could scream, a figure cloaked in darkness emerged from the corners of the clearing. Its presence loomed, twisting the faces around him into masks of anguish. Leave this place, it hissed, voice laced with malice. They belong to me now. Tom's breath quickened, fear clenching around his heart. The hollow sound of laughter filled the air, reverberating through the trees. He could not turn back now. Not when so many were counting on him. Release them, he shouted, anger igniting inside him. But the figure merely laughed, an echo that swallowed his courage whole. Do you truly believe you can save them? As the fog tightened around him again, Tom felt his own resolve wavering. Was he making a mistake? Did he have the strength to face this evil? The mist thickened, shadows clawing at him, wrapping tightly around his limbs. He could hear whispers again, not just cries for help, but of warning. Trust no one. His heart raced wildly. Time was running out. What had he unleashed? The Hollow Man was not merely a being. It was a curse, a fear incarnate that tainted the very air he breathed. And deep in the night, an inescapable thought crept in. Would he be able to save them all, or would he too become just another piece in Millbury's horrifying puzzle? With that, the air shifted. Something was coming. But would it be salvation or doom? As the shadows danced and darkness welcomed him, the question lingered, heavy with dread. Would he find the way to break the curse or become lost in its depths forever? The shadows slithered through the clearing, a thick fog that seemed to sigh with a life of its own. Tom staggered as the oppressive weight of darkness pulled at his resolve. The whispers had returned, stitching together a chilling tapestry of desperation, distrust, and dread. Tom, help us! The echoes twisted and intertwined, each plea growing more frantic. He couldn't make it out who was saying what, or if it was all a cruel trick of the Hollow Man. The fear surging through his veins blurred the line between reality and nightmare. Get out! He shouted, the sound swallowed by the encroaching shadows. He knew he had to act. The figure loomed closer, its eyes two glowing coals burning with malice. For a moment, it felt less like an entity and more like a cold, dark blanket wrapping around him. Look, they are only shadows of their former selves. You must choose. The figure hissed, its voice slicing through the fog, sharper than glass. Choose who you wish to save, or you will lose them all. Panic shuddered through him. Did it want him to pick? He studied their faces: fear, hope, desperation. Each was a flickering candle fighting against the inevitable extinguishing of life. He was paralyzed, caught between the need to save and the stark realization that he might not be strong enough. You can't save everyone. The shadow pressed forward, its cold breath brushing against Tom's neck. Embrace the power of choice. Give in to me and the others can remain. They will find peace. He felt a knot tighten in his stomach, hunger for power, for control. The hollow man embodied everything he feared. No, he swallowed his fear, flinging his arms wide. I won't let you claim another soul. You're lying. With that, an image flashed in his mind, a memory of his father. The late-night talks filled with cautionary tales. All the family stories laced with dread came rushing back like a dam bursting. Only the brave can brave the hollow, they say. And from within the nightmare, doubt fell away as clarity rose instead. He could feel it in his bones, the echoes of those lost singing in harmony just beyond the grasp of shadow. With newfound resolve, he focused on the light of the clearing. He drew from the strength of the spirits surrounding him, urging them to fight back. I will not abandon you, he screamed, the conviction igniting all around him. Suddenly the fog wavered. An angry wind tore through the clearing, pushing against the shadows. Light burst forth from Tom's hands, brilliant, dazzling. The figures clung to it as if it were a lifeline. Tom, the woman with haunted eyes, surged forward, reaching for his hand. We can break this. Heart pounding, Tom grasped her hand, feeling warmth spread through him like sunlight breaking through a storm. The clarity washed over him. Trust us, he shouted, rallying the trapped souls. Together we're stronger. The face of the hollow man twisted in fury. You think light can overcome darkness? It snarled, the shadows thrashing violently. Yes, Tom shouted, his voice now powerful and unyielding. Your reign ends tonight. Light surged, wrapping around him as if it were a protective armor. With each pulse, more figures joined him, their hands clasping tightly together as they drew strength from one another, a tapestry of hope woven against despair. But just as the darkness began to falter, a crack formed at the edge of the clearing. A torrent of whispers climaxed into screams, and then silence. Every spectral face turned to Tom, pleading, but with a warning hidden in their eyes. Tom, the voice softened, almost gentle now. You need to be careful. The truth, it's more twisted than you know. And with a rush, an immense force pressed back against the light. It felt like an earthquake in existence itself, shaking the foundations of the very realm he stood upon. Tom's heart dropped as the shadows writhed, twisting back with renewed ferocity, threatening to engulf them all once more. In that moment of terror, a sinister chuckle echoed through the brambles. You're in over your head, boy. Can you even comprehend what it means to win? The winds howled, the ground shook, and deep down, Tom sensed something more lurking in the fog, something that knew him far too well. As the light flickered, teetering between salvation and despair, he felt the tendrils of dread twist around his heart again. The hollow man was no ordinary specter. It was built from the remnants of every unacknowledged fear he bore. What lay ahead was a reckoning. He wasn't prepared for, a collision of dark and light that would shake everything he believed to his core. With each passing second, the shadows threatened to reclaim their hold over him, leaving him to wonder. Could he truly uncover the truth, or was he destined to be just another lost soul in this cursed forest? The ground trembled beneath Tom's feet, the cries of the trapped souls echoing in a frantic symphony of fear. The light flickering from his hands felt like a fragile spark against the raging chaos swirling around them. Lips pressed together in a grimace, he strained against the weight of shadow, determination etched in every crease of his brow. You can't stand against the hollow, boy. The voice of the figure slithered through the fog like slick oil, heavy and suffocating. Tom's grip tightened around the woman's hand, her wide eyes filled with raw terror and wild hope. Together, he whispered, pulling strength from the light that pulsed through them. We can fight. A sudden chill swept through the clearing, a visceral shiver that sent icy fingers spiraling down his spine. The whispers crescendoed, intertwining into something ancient, something hungry. You will doom them all, Tom. You cannot save them. The hollow man hissed from its abyss of darkness, the coals of its eyes now penetratingly bright. Tom's heart raced furiously in his chest. Each beat echoed the trepidation that clawed at him. Yet beneath the fear, he found resilience. It's you who doesn't understand, he bellowed, pouring every ounce of defiance into his voice. With a deep breath, He began to chant words he didn't fully know he possessed, calling forth memories from deep within. Images of laughter, love, family, and friendship rose from his heart, bathing him in warmth. "You're stronger together. We won't lose this fight." The shadows grappled and writhed as if angry serpents, but Tom could feel the light beginning to drive them back. Faces, once lost in despair, started to shimmer with hope, their features illuminated by the brilliance of their shared strength. But then the ground erupted. With a roiling burst, the earth split wide open, a deep chasm appearing where moments ago he felt grounded. Souls wavered, confusion stitched on their faces as they were pulled toward the yawning void. "Tom!" The woman screamed, her nails digging into his forearm, panic flooding her voice. "Hold on." Tom fought against gravity and fear, positioning himself as a barrier against the shadows creeping closer. "Fight back. Remember who you are." The cacophony intensified, the shrieking cries of ghosts melding with the howling wind. Desperation bubbled up. He felt the shift in power, the struggle between light and dark. And then a dreadful switch flipped. The whispers slowed, their tone morphing from chaotic panic to something sinisterly calm. "Surrender. Tom, accept the truth, and you will save them all and oh." He screamed, but the word barely escaped his lips. The shadows wrapped tighter, an inescapable vice closing around him. For a split second, he saw the faces of the lost souls and felt the burning need to survive surge within him. The gentle caress of light flickered, a dying ember fighting against the relentless dark. "Remember what they took," the voice whispered, now smooth like honey yet dripping with malice. "Only by embracing your fears will you truly know freedom." Something deep in Tom pulled, a card revealing itself from the deck of his own shadows. What had he hidden all these years? Burdened by regret, a haunting truth began to claw its way to the surface of his consciousness. Yet the deeper he plunged into that shadowy memory, the more the light began to fade. His heart raced, mind reeling what truth could possibly set him free. The shadows beyond him flickered with anticipation, like wolves circling prey. "Fight," the woman urged, but for once her pull felt distant. What lay ahead was a dark choice, one that could unravel his very being. His breath came in ragged gasps. What would he uncover if he dared? As the pressure mounted, squeezing the space around him tighter, he felt the flicker of hope dimming. The hollow man's laughter echoed, an intimate melody of dread. Tom was losing ground, and the truth was about to reveal itself. What lurked behind that door in the depths of his slumbering fear? Was it a key to freedom, or chains that would bind him eternally? Time was running out, but the answer could seal their fates just the same. Tom's breath turned ragged, every pulse of panic threatening to drown him. The coldness seeped deeper, wrapping around him like a snake coiling tighter for the kill. Memories danced just beyond his reach, taunting him with flashes of faces and moments he had tried desperately to forget. "Tom, focus." The woman's voice pierced through, grounding him, if only for a moment. Her grip was fierce, anchoring him against the abyss that threatened to swallow them whole. But the shadows laughed, a sound like nails on a chalkboard, both mocking and hungry. "Embrace your fear," the hollow man chuckled softly, sending fresh chills racing through Tom's veins. "What else can you do? You are weak without me." "No," he fought back, his voice breaking against the weight of despair. "I'm not weak." Yet doubt curled in his stomach, poison mixing with the adrenaline. All the things he had hidden, the darkness he shoved down so he wouldn't have to face it, now hovered just above the surface, beckoning him like a siren's song. The shadows surged forward again, hungry tendrils lashing out, trying to pull him into their frigid depths. "You are nothing without your secrets." The voice rang out, reverberating through the tormented air. "It is time to unveil. Time to reveal your truth." Tom shut his eyes, concentrating on the glowing memories. His skin pricked with the light's warmth, but each flicker was met with the chill of doubt. What was he afraid of? Every hidden part of him felt like a weight, dragging him down. "What do they want from me?" he whispered into the chaos, the words catching in his throat like a broken promise. He could feel the woman's grip slackening, the warmth of her presence dimming as despair clawed its way into her heart too. Then, an image struck him, a face he hadn't thought of in years. No, it can't be. His heart thundered in his chest. The hollow laughter echoed cruelly in response. A melody of grief twisted with glee. Bring it back. Let it out. With trembling fingers, Tom dragged the memory from the shadows. It unfolded like a grotesque flower, its petals curling into a sharp spiral. A face his mother's. Gone too soon, swallowed by her own demons. The ache of her absence tore through him, each second a reminder of the ache he had buried deep in his soul. They took her from me, he murmured, the truth ringing like a bell. The darkness around him stilled, almost as if it anticipated his next move. Yes, the calmness returned, oily and sly. Feel the hurt, let it breathe, and you shall free them all. Tom felt the walls closing in. He could either drown in this darkness or let it go. If I think of her, his pulse quickened. Can I save the others? You can save them all by sacrificing your own heart. The hollow man's voice was a silken whisper, offering its dark bargain. A horrible clarity washed over him. The truth could set him free. Yet at what price? No, he screamed, unsureness erupting like a furious wildfire. I want to choose. But within the shadows he sensed the shift. The chasm yawning wider beneath him. Its grip solidified as it craved his acceptance. A desperate need. The woman's terror mingled with his. They were losing. His heart sank like lead. Fight together, Tom rasped, channeling everything desperate ounce of love he had for his mother, for the woman at his side, for every soul whispering in the night. I am stronger than my past. Yet as the shadows surged, they consumed his voice, a beckoning lull pulling the warmth from his heart and the light from his eyes. The hollow man's eyes brightened, glee suffusing every inch of darkness that encircled them. Would he surrender to the darkness, or would he wrestle with his buried past? Each heartbeat, every breath, slid closer to a conclusion. What lies ahead in this blinding tension? Would Tom fracture under pressure, trapped in the truth of his darkest memories? The shadows twisted like serpents, wrapping around Tom's limbs, pulling him deeper into their depths, a clammy chill gnawing at his sanity. Whatever warmth he had fought to hold onto slipped away, dragging a weight of unbearable memories with it. His mother's face lingered, an echo of love turned to anguish, and the hollow man's whispers twisted beneath his skin. Face it, Tom. The voice purred, a venom-soaked caress. Let her back in. Let the past be your guide. No, he shouted, his fists clenching. But still, the darkness pressed, burrowing into his mind, its grip like iron. He felt the woman by his side tremble, her strength wavering under the weight of despair. For a fleeting moment, he thought of the warmth of daylight, the caress of a gentle breeze, everything so normal, so dictated by the living. Tom, she gasped, fear etching her features. Fight it. Don't let it win. The shadows twisted, new faces swirling within their murky depths, each one a ghost from his past. With every heartbeat, each pulse drove him closer to recognition. They were familiar, he knew them. Friends, neighbors, loved ones, each one had vanished into the abyss he buried deep. Did they suffer? He whispered, his voice cracking. Did I let them down? People are like memories, the hollow man crooned, a sinister comfort in his tone. Once lost, they linger to torment you. Tom's pulse quickened. The faces elongated into grotesque caricatures, their mouths stretched in silent screams. A flash, a childhood friend, forgotten until now, urged him to remember. You abandoned us, screamed the ghost's eyes, filled with a sorrow too vivid to suppress. No. Tom pushed back against the tide of sorrow, pressing his palms against his ears as if blocking out their cries would silence the shame clawing at his insides. I didn't mean to. I thought. Another surge of darkness surrounded them. Tendrils clawed at him like desperate hands, clawing for purchase, ready to drag him down, away from the light he yearned for. But he could feel the woman's essence. They were tied together in this desperate fight. Are you willing to sacrifice yourself for them? The hollow man hissed, venom dripping from each word. You already carry their burdens. It would be so easy. Tom clenched his jaw, terror mixing with determination. I can't. I need them to fight. We can fight together. Suddenly, a flicker broke through the inky darkness. A moment of clarity in a storm of chaos. Tom remembered a time when he stared fear in the face, ready to protect the ones he loved. Remember me, he shouted, the light surging through his voice, pushing against the shadows. I am stronger. We are stronger together. The darkness sputtered, as if suddenly unsure. The woman squeezed his hand, the warmth grounding him against the cooling grasp of despair. Tom, please, she cried, her fear palpable. Don't lose yourself. But the chasm grew wider, insatiable and hungry. The memories twisted into a cyclone of emotion, promising every answer in the guise of pain. The squared shadows swirled, taunting him with their presence. What would he have to endure to claim them all? Let them free, the hollow man urged, seducing him with a promise of release. All it costs is your heart. Tom's breath hitched in his throat. Could he truly let go? The world he yearned for spun just on the cusp of his acceptance. Yet the depth of darkness still loomed over him, clawing, demanding amidst the chaos. Would he discover the will to embrace his past, or would he drown beneath the weight of his buried truths? As a final wave of shadows coiled tighter, whispering promises that felt too sweet, the tension pulled taut, vibrating with silent screams. And in that moment of uncertainty, the flickering light began to slip through his fingers. Would he embrace the darkness he feared, and risk losing everything? Or would the truth of love pull him through the void? The shadows roared around him, a cacophony of tormented whispers swelling to a deafening crescendo. Tom felt their weight pressing against his chest, suffocating, clawing at his heart. The woman beside him struggled, barely staying upright, her eyes wide with panic as her grip on him threatened to slip away. Tom, we need to break free. Don't let it consume us, she screamed, her words slicing through the chaos like a lifeline. But the spectral figures, those faces of despair, seemed to laugh, filling the space with echoes of accusations, their wails twisting into a haunting symphony. Face what you've done, they shrieked, forming a violent tapestry of his past regrets. Old homes, birthdays, and laughter that faded too soon morphed into bitter reminders of loss and guilt. Each memory was a dagger, piercing his resolve. Stop it, he snapped, reaching for the woman, pulling her closer. We can't let them win. But the words faded into the night, a futile protest against a surging tide of darkness. The hollow man's voice threaded through the swirl, dripping with malice. You think you have power, don't you? But it's a lie. You're shackled to them. Set them free, Tom. All it takes is your heart. The shadows beckoned, thick and alluring, promising he'd be free. All his pain and betrayal could vanish as the souls he abandoned, the friends he lost, would finally find peace. Tom's heart raced at the thought, a desperate wish for closure. But with clarity came a cold realization. If he surrendered, he didn't know who he'd become. Tom, the woman cried, a tremor of fear heavy in her tone. What if you lose yourself? What if this darkness takes you? The swirling faces distorted with rage, demanding acknowledgement, demanding atonement. You were never strong enough, they declared, voices impossibly layered, mixing into one overwhelming chant. You left us. Tom's resolve wavered. Doubt seeped into his veins. Images of happier times flooded him. He remembered picnics, neighborhood parties, and the innocent laughter of days gone by. But those moments felt like chains clinking against the floor, binding him to ghosts he didn't want to confront. No, he shouted, panic slicing through him. Adrenaline surged. I won't give in. Gripping the woman's hand tighter, he focused on the warmth radiating from her. It pushed back against the cold. A small flicker in the overwhelming dark, her face flickered with belief, though doubt clouded her eyes. Then fight. Let us fight together. Remember the strength we have. But the shadows lashed out wildly, tendrils reaching around him, raking against his skin, tearing through the very essence of his resolve. For every inch gained, it raked deeper, as if testing how far he'd bend before breaking. Tom. The hollow man's whisper curled around them, seductive and conspiratorial. It's futile. They're only memories, dear boy. Set them free. You'll never find peace without sacrifice. He could see the desperation in the faces friends he played with, loved ones lost, their eyes pleading for him to take the final step. Could the weight of all his past failures truly be weighed against the promise of salvation? In a split second, moments collided, memories overshadowing his present reality. His heart thundered under the mounting pressure. It felt like an alarm ringing in his chest, warning him of imminent doom. Please, Tom. The woman's voice broke, fear cracking her resolve as if she could see through the veil of secrets he held. You can't give up. Can I set them free? He asked, half-focused on her voice. Is letting go the only way to save us? The shadows swelled, twisting ominously at his words, enticing with the echo of their truth. Fear washed over him, dripping like ice on his skin. Would he betray what he loved most to hold on to what he lost? As the darkness roared in fury, Tom turned to the woman, desperation flickering in his eyes. What if I don't come back? But all she could do was shake her head, eyes glossy with unshed tears. You have to fight. For us. With a final breath, Tom wavered on the edge of a chasm between salvation and damnation, ready to make the choice that would alter everything. And in that moment, the shadows lunged forward, sealing his fate as he plunged into an abyss of uncertainty. What awaited him on the other side? But the echoes of his past surged louder, drowning everything else out with their screams. Tom felt himself falling, spiraling through the darkness, like ink spilling through water. The moment stretched thin, suffocating him with regrets he'd long buried. He struggled to breathe, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs as the woman's grip slipped from his fingers, her silhouette blurring. Tom. Her voice, real and distant, echoed through the void. He reached out, grasping at shadows that fled before him, but they were patient predators, swirling and shifting, feeding on his dread. Fight back. The cold seeped into his bones. Stillness wrapped around him, thick and choking. The silence was more terrifying than the cacophony of screams that had enveloped him moments before. Where was she? Where was the light that had kept his fear at bay? He opened his mouth to call for her, but no sound escaped. Panic surged inside him, a wild beast clawing to get out. He didn't dare look into the swirling mass that surrounded him. His memories turned lies. He couldn't face the ghosts more powerful than the shadows. And then the voice came again, softer this time, almost a mother's lullaby. It's time to face the truth, Tom. They want to be free, and so do you. He hesitated, nearly convincing himself the voice was comforting, welcoming. What do you mean? He whispered, straining to hear. Only echoes replied, taunting him with fragments of forgotten failures. Let go, the hollow man urged, thick wavy darkness crawling closer, weaving through the tattered shreds of his mind. Free them and you will find peace. You can be whole again. Memories surged faces he thought he'd forgotten. The boy who had his life stolen in an accident he could have prevented. His best friend swallowed by his own addiction. His sister, forever tied to her tragic end, trailing regret like a smothering shroud. They all clawed at him, drawn to the promise of liberation. No, he screamed into the abyss, and the shadows recoiled. Yet they rallied quickly, morphing into grotesque forms, faces warped with pain, hunger, wrath. I can't just let you go. Why? They hissed, voices a choir of despair. You never stood up for us. Tom's vision began to clear, though he wished it hadn't. He could see their faces now, twisted in agony, each one rippling with the grief he believed he had hidden well. Suddenly a flash of light ignited his surroundings. The woman, standing somehow free from the grasp of the shadows, illuminated only by a fierce glow. Don't listen to them, she commanded. You'll regret it for eternity. But her radiance faltered, and for a moment he saw it, doubt flickering in her eyes. Tom, you need to choose. The shadows murmured louder, swelling in rage. She'll try to take you away from us. The pale light flickered again, nearly extinguished by the looming dark. He darted his gaze between them, her genuine concern and the hovering tendrils of despair drawing closer, like coiled serpents ready to strike. Time warped as he fought to remember who he was supposed to be. I can't keep you, he yelled, voice raw like the empty wounds they had left on his heart, as if activated by his defiance. The shadows recoiled, temporarily shocked. You don't have to stand alone, came the murmured voices, now pleading, tainted with the weight of betrayal. Join us. What's left of you will be free. He lowered his head. The palpable weight of their need pressed down on him. What if that's not what I want? The realization struck like lightning through his soul. No. The whisper of despair slashed through the darkness. That desire is too fragile. You belong with us now. Fear wrapped around him. The woman gasped, stepping closer to the shadows. Tom, please, you can't accept that. You have to save us both. He could feel the vortex around him swirl, churning with anger and longing, and it dawned on him. The shadows were feeding off of his unwillingness to confront his own past. Their hunger tied to a cycle of pain he had to break. But would he be strong enough to push through? Do it for her. The shadows urged, their hissing taunts wrapping around him like barbed wire. Set them free. Let your heart be rebuilt. Tom's heart thudded painfully as he made the choice, ready to confront the darkness that had haunted him for far too long. Just as he took a step forward, an echo of laughter broke through, laced with malice and sadness, the last shred of hope slipping through his fingers, and then he felt the ground beneath him shifting, pulling apart like a cracked mirror, questioning every choice he had made. Did he have the strength to shatter the illusion? The truth danced tantalizingly out of reach, just waiting to be discovered. But would the price be his soul? As the shadows lunged toward him again, desperate and furious, Tom braced for the fight ahead, aware that the hardest truth might be confronting himself as the world around him shuddered with a promise of revelation. What awaited him on the other side of this internal battle? Tom felt the ground tremble beneath him, the shadows whispering promises of escape mingling with the fading echoes of his past. The woman's hand slipped through the fabric of darkness, her pained face mirroring the torment swirling around them. Fight, Tom. Her voice was a beacon beneath the oppressive gloom. You're not alone. He closed his eyes, drawing a deep breath. Every heartbeat reminded him of the faces lost to him, the laughter, the shared moments, the love that had turned to regret. It all came crashing back, a tidal wave of memories pulling him under. But now, with determination settling in his chest, he stood tall against the monstrous specter of fear that loomed over him. Enough, he shouted, his voice breaking through the chaos like a siren piercing the fog. The shadows twisted, recoiling from the strength of his defiance. You will not take any more from me. The dark presence shuddered, its anger palpable. You think you can change your fate? It hissed, twisting the air thick with dread. You are bound to your failures. No, Tom shot back, fighting against the weight of despair that wrapped around him. I'll turn my regrets into strength instead. As if a spark ignited deep within him, a radiant wave of light surged from the depths of his spirit, pushing back against the shadows. He felt it ripple through him, warmth flooding his body, mingling with the lingering pain, binding it into something fierce and powerful. The shadows shrieked, retreating momentarily from his growing intensity. Together, he shouted to the souls surrounding him, urging them to fight with him. We can find our way home, but we must confront our fears. Embrace the truth. Faces swirled around him, some filled with fear, others brimming with whispers of hope. As they drew nearer, his vision sharpened. He recognized them, the community he had sworn to protect, lost but not forgotten. The woman by his side, her eyes flickering like the last light of a dying candle, stepped forward again. You inspired us before. Sheriff, let us. With her strength bolstering his resolve, he focused on embracing not only his pain but theirs as well. Each whisper, every spectral cry, lifted the corners of his heart, mingling grief with the flicker of hope. Memories of laughter, hugs, shared meals, and love flooded him, warming the frost of despair that had long held him captive. Let go of the burdens. We can rise together, he screamed, reaching out toward them. One by one, they joined hands, formulating an unbroken chain against the shadows. Feelings of attachment surged between them, a palpable electric current of camaraderie. Tom, the woman said, her voice steady and confident now. We can do this. Just remember the love, not the hurt. Trust us. And in that crescendo of connection, the darkness around them howled in fury. Tendrils lunged, desperate to divide their unity. But the light within them burned brighter, stronger because of each person holding on to hope and pushing against despair. Tom felt the piercing cold be repelled, illuminating the shadows in a radiant brilliance. Together, we will break the hollow man's curse. He roared, watching as the dark figure twisted, the vibrant light stinging its malice. You can't have us. With a final surge of strength, Tom thrust forward, the collective will of the chained souls overwhelming the shadows, severing the hold of despair tethering them down. The shadows shrieked as they were peeled away, one ghostly tendril at a time, like peeling bark from a tree, and in that moment, clarity shattered through the fog like glass breaking. As the darkness withdrew, the shadows of their burdens began to dissolve, replaced with echoes of laughter and feelings of love that resonated in his heart. Tom felt lighter, as real and raw as dawn breaking through the night. The hollow man screamed one last time before fading into what seemed like vapor, a hiss of wind lost in the trees, unable to hold them captive any longer. Sheriff, the voices erupted around him, joy breaking the silence like thunder. The once trapped souls began to solidify, feeling their humanity restored, their faces bright and alive again. Tom found himself in their midst, laughter breaking through tears. We're free, someone shouted, undulating with joy. Faces continuing to shift, their warmth encircled Tom like a long-lost embrace. The weight of fear lifted, and sorrow dimmed. A sense of triumph rose in the air, electrifying and revitalizing. And right here, in the clearing bathed in golden light, the town reclaimed what was lost. Millbury could breathe again as they shared their joy. A hint of darkness flickered at the edges of the clearing, but was swallowed by the light they had forged as a community. Tom grinned, chest heavy with gratitude, knowing his truth no longer bound him. The fog began to lift, revealing a vibrant dawn. They weren't just survivors. They were reclaiming their lives. Together in that moment, Tom felt complete. As if the ghosts that had haunted him were now memories that no longer shackled his heart but simply were tales of resilience, woven into the fabric of who he would continue to become. Thank you, he whispered into the clear air, a promise of dedication to protect the newfound light. With the warmth of the sun embracing them, he would never forget the power of unity, nor the strength retrieved from vulnerability. This town would heal. This past would find peace. And together they would foster a future lit by hope. Now, fellow story lovers, this is the moment where I need your help. Subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive tales that will send chills down your spine. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. You know it makes a difference. And flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories. I want to hear what you think of this incredible conclusion and how you felt during the twists. Lastly, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this thrilling finale. Together, we can build an amazing community. Your support keeps the stories coming, so don't hesitate. Let us spread the word and keep the magic alive.